Hello and welcome to the Empathy Podcast. This podcast seeks to explore the minds of those who not only understand or experience empathy, but of those who wish to take action, build and practice empathetic behavior through conscious decision and responsible lifestyle choices. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, this podcast might be just for you. So sit back, relax, and use what you were born with, empathy. Hello, and before I get into this episode, I just really want to share something. A company that I partnered with that I'm super proud to share with you guys, Purium, which stands for Pure and Premium, some of the highest quality foods that I've ever been a part of. If you're dealing with fatigue, brain fog, gut health, indigestion, skin issues, or anything above, this is some of the best foods that you have. These are clean ingredients. It's 100% organic. They were organic before organic was even originated. And there's no binders, there's no fillers, there's no artificial colors. It's vegan, it is incredibly clean. And I'm so proud to announce that partnering with this podcast, you can get 25% off for all of my listeners on your very first order. And if you click the link in the description, we can lock in that 25% for life. And that is incredible because right now we're going through some of the most trying times with food shortages coming, food prices are skyrocketing, and getting organic foods is gonna be critical. The amount of chemicals that are in the foods today is astronomical. If you take a typical apple in the supermarket and you were to have the actual ingredients, if you were to look at the ingredient label on that apple, it would be none. It would just say an apple. But if you were to take the actual ingredients, including all the chemicals, it could be 10, 15, 20, 30 different ingredients. Those that are eating whole foods, is it really a whole food if it has 20 different ingredients of chemicals? You need to be getting your food with no chemicals if you're gonna be eating the whole foods, plant-based diet, which we know is proven to be the best diet out there for your health. So this is one of the best ways to get on board for an affordable price, about $2.50 a day. You cannot beat that. So anyways, I'm so proud for everyone that listened to the podcast. You get a chance to try this out. 25% off, and make sure that you click the link in the description below. Hello and welcome to the Empathy Podcast. I'm so excited to have a very special guest and a topic that we have not spoken about on this podcast yet, and is something that is very personal and very close to me because I myself suffered with an autoimmune disease called ankylosing spondylitis, and we're here with an incredible doctor that specializes in autoimmune diseases, and his name is Dr. Benjamin Benulis. And so I'm really excited to have a chance to bring this to you guys because I know there's so many people out there that are suffering with autoimmune diseases that are either undiagnosed, you don't even know that you have it, or you do know that you have it and you've been told that there's no way that it's going to be able to go away and you have it. It's like a life sentence. You have it for the rest of your life. And there's so many people out there. And so with the theme of this podcast is we're always trying to do the very best that we can to get this information out to you, to help you be as informed as possible when you're making decisions in your life. So Dr. Ben, so if you could speak to us a little bit about what was your life like before you were diagnosed with an autoimmune disease?
Well, I will tell you that I was never formally diagnosed until after I got well. You know, I suffered and saw a lot of doctors and didn't get answers. And that's kind of why I went down an alternative path, because it wouldn't get answers about what was wrong or how to fix it. But before I got sick, I mean, I was pretty much just a normal guy living a normal life. I was an engineer working in the microchip industry, had a good 8-to-5 job, just kind of did my thing. Loved to go to live music, played hacky sack competitively, did stand-up comedy as a hobby. Just kind of lived a normal life, had my geeky hobbies, and just kind of did my thing, up until I got sick. Yeah.
Where were you from?
Originally from Boston, Massachusetts.
For people that I guess I'm taking the assumption that people know what the heck autoimmune disease is. And these are maybe people that are listening that do, but maybe those that are listening that don't even know what that is, right? What the heck is an autoimmune disease and like, how are they typically started? Like, how is it?
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Great question. So the autoimmune has two root words, like auto meaning self and immune meaning your immune system, the system in you that's supposed to fight disease, right? You get a cold, you get a flu, you get COVID, whatever, your immune system, your white blood cells come in and, beat it up and kill it. And then you're healthy again, right? With an autoimmune disease, that immune system, a wire gets crossed, something goes wrong, and that immune system starts attacking your own body. Okay. And so depending on what part of your body it attacks, they give it a different name, right? So your immune system attacked your spine, and they called it ankylosing spondylitis. Very long, fancy name, but it basically just means Kevin's immune system is attacking Kevin's spine. If it attacks your thyroid, they call it Hashimoto's. If it attacks your large intestine, they call it ulcerative colitis. There's basically different names, but it's the immune system attacking the body. And so they put you on, somebody told me about Humira, right, which is an immune suppressant drug. It's designed to make your immune system not kill you. But the problem is that you need your immune system, right? So you suppress your immune system. Now you can get all these other diseases, and it's like whack-a-mole, right? And you told me you didn't even feel good on it. So that's what an autoimmune disease is. As far as where they come from, it's not very well understood. I have my theories. I have a book coming out probably early next year that will explain, but really we don't know. Well, we can kind of guess. I don't want to dive too far into it, but it's largely a not well understood phenomenon. But the good news is that we do know how to reverse them with diet and lifestyle. I had a client who was on immune suppressants, and she'd been on them for a while, felt okay, like it was doing the job. And then she got COVID, and they're like, well, we got to take you off of this. You're just going to get this. And during that time, she was off of it, like everything flared to just like all her joints. She had an inflammatory joint condition, and it's like everything flared up. And she was like, wow, like I can't just like be on this drug for the rest of my life. Like this is like, I don't want COVID and I don't want arthritis. Like I got to figure something else out. And that's kind of how, she started working with me. So yeah, if you're immune suppressed, I mean, it's definitely more likely to catch COVID. And if you're immune suppressed over a long time, that means you're more likely to get cancer, because people have cancer in their bodies and their immune system fights it off. But if your immune system's weakened, it's something that could happen for sure.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Your story, like just hearing it sounds just eerily similar to me, just typical standard, just doing a couple of different hobbies, just kind of doing the job, nothing really too serious going on. And then boom, it just hit me like a wall for me. Like, how did it happen for you?
I don't want to say it hit me like that, but I would say it crept up pretty insidiously over about 6 months. Like I went from January 2010, like pretty much clean bill of health, to June 2010, I was really, really bad. And so the main issues I had were chronic muscle pain, eczema all over my hands, really bad digestive issues, and really bad fatigue and brain fog. And so it started off just sort of like, innocently, like, oh, I ate a meal, it didn't agree with me. I'm a little bit more tired today. Hey, I'm craving more caffeine. I started developing like an energy drink habit just because I just felt tired all the time. And then it developed into full blown, like in pain every day. Every meal I eat hurts. I'm knocking back 3 monsters just to get through the day. And then I'm sleeping all weekend. That was what it kind of eventually ballooned into. It took several months.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of what my dad was going through before, like he ended up passing away, but he was never diagnosed with anything. So what ended up happening as far as what was it called? What was the name of it?
It was called myalgic encephalopathy.
Wow. And how common is that? Is that one that's pretty common or one of the rare ones?
I think as far as getting it diagnosed, it's pretty rare. But I think it's actually just talking with people and having done this work for a while, it's actually pretty prevalent.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did the doctors tell you, and what was their solution?
The doctors really couldn't tell me much. I got really, I had a lot of faith in the medical system going to it. Like I thought like, okay, I'm coming to you with problems A, B, and C, and you'll just give me pills X, Y, and Z, and then life will go back to normal, right? And that wasn't really what happened. Like I got a lot of like, I'm not sure what this is. Let's do some blood work. Let's refer you to, oh, you got chronic pain, we'll refer you to a rheumatologist. Oh, you got gastrointestinal stuff, we'll refer you to a gastroenterologist. Oh, you've got, like skin issues, we'll refer you to a dermatologist, right? So then it's like passing me on, and the numbers of doctors are multiplying, right? Like an infestation of bugs. Maybe that's a bad analogy. That's an unfair analogy, but like it was just like I was going and seeing more and more doctors who were running more and more tests, and basically coming back and saying, "Oh, you know what? Like all the labs look normal. Like you must be okay. Like good news, nothing's wrong with you." And I felt like I was like in a horror movie. I'm like, what do you mean nothing's wrong with me? Like I came to you because something's wrong with me, and now you're just pawning me off and like, oh, I did my work here and I can't find anything wrong with you, so nothing must be wrong with you. And I got very angry and frustrated. Like I really thought doctors were smart and could, use deduction and like think outside the box if it didn't fit the bill of what they thought they didn't, right? And they didn't have much time because of the way the system works. It's like they get 15 minutes with you, and then they gotta push you because they don't have time to like really think about anything. And so I just basically got the runaround for several months, like basically all that summer. Just got we don't know, and eventually I just threw my hands up and was like, because I was still getting worse, right? A couple of them had like prescribed medications to do as a trial. These medications didn't help. They had side effects. And eventually I just got to the point where I was like, I just like I'm tapping out. Like this is not helping enough with you guys.
Absolutely. I can relate to that like 1,000%. And it is incredibly frustrating for sure. And there's a lot of people that are in this boat. And that's what we're here for. And I think that for you, like what changed, so at that point where you're like, I'm tapping out, like I'm not putting my faith, in that system. Like, where did you turn? Like, where did you look and how did you find alternative information?
Well, hey, I'm an engineer. I did this biotech program back in the 90s. Like, I can figure this out, right? Like I can research this and figure out a solution. That's basically what I did. I just basically went into mad scientist mode on my own, started searching Google Scholar, started just reading books, anything I can get my hands on. And I was very much like, I'll try anything, right? Like I'll just, the medical route isn't helping me. I will give anything else a shot. If it sounds reasonable, I will at least try. Which, before that time, I had really thought anybody who does anything out of the mainstream medicine was quack. That they were basically doing it because they couldn't get into med school, right? But I was doing this stuff because like I couldn't get well from people who went to med school. So, and I was pretty agnostic. It wasn't like I was like, oh, well, that's it for medicine. Like if they had an answer, I would have been willing to listen, but they didn't. And I was just like, let's explore this, because I wasn't willing to, just keep running through the game of mousetrap with them again. It's like, if there's an answer out there, I feel like it's going to take them longer for me going to different doctors than it would be if I just figured it out myself. And so I remember reading stuff that said, like in the beginning, like, well, if you change your diet, you eat healthier, more fruits and vegetables, and you stay away from processed foods, like a lot of these kind of issues can go away. And I thought, oh, well, that's nice to know, but I'm not doing that, right? Like, that'll be the last thing I ever do, saying that rather prophetically, because I tried a bunch of other stuff and like different supplements and different alternative modalities, and none of it really got me anywhere. And so I was sort of painted into a corner. It's like, I did declare that changing my diet will be the last thing I do. Well, here we go, because nothing else works, right? It's like, and then of course it's like when you're a kid and you're scared to go down the water slide, and then you finally go down the water slide and you find out it's really fun, and you're like, why didn't I do this a long time ago, right? So that was how it went down. Yeah.
That's so crazy. It's like, it's almost like the opposite of me when I found out. Like the first thing I saw, like the first semblance of a change in helping me, because I was at the point where I said, I'll do anything to get better. I was like practically praying, and just like, please, like anything to get better from what I was feeling in that moment. That was from the sickness from my flu, actually was wiping me out at this point. And I was like, I'll do anything to get better, anything. And my anything that I first saw was diet. It was a diet change. And so it wasn't the last resort. It was my first step, and it's so amazing, to be honest. And it's true. Like even the work that you're doing now, like you just see it over and over and over, and you hear stories, from people over and over and over and over. Like you just see like people healing from so many things that you just seemed impossible, that the medical industry just says, you cannot heal from this. It's a life sentence, right? So how did you take that information and apply it? Because there was a lot of trial and error, right? How do you take that information, apply it, make it relevant to you, and make it work for you? And then how were you able to help others to figure out the same path?
Well, it was very much a Bruce Lee approach to things, even though I didn't really understand. I had no knowledge at that time, but he said something effective like, study everything, take away that which works for you, and forget everything else, right? And I think that's very important, especially because it was like I was in new territory at the time. I didn't really know anybody else who was going through this stuff. Like I really thought I was the only one. And this was 11 years ago. Obviously a lot has changed. There's a lot of people talking about this on social media. There's movies like the one you saw, What the Health. There's many more resources out there. Back then, it was harder to find. I mean, maybe it was out there and I couldn't find it, but there was a lot less of it, right? And so I just kind of stumbled on, I remember I found this guy, Dan McDonald, on YouTube. And that was really an eye-opener. Like that guy really had a big influence on me. And that was like a real jumping off point, because he was the one who wasn't just talking about eating healthier. He was talking about like, oh, you can reverse these diseases that people say are incurable. And at the time when I found him, I was like, wow, this guy is in outer space. Like this is like, I just want some smoothie recipes, man. What are you like, this is crazy talk. But I just kept listening because it was entertaining, and then it started making sense. And then I started finding other people, and it was a lot of ideas that if I had gotten them too early, I would have rejected them. But I found them at the right time that I was willing to listen. And so, yeah, it was trial and error. But it was, as simple as it is, fruits and vegetables, and like, that was like, this is something they teach in kindergarten, but it took me, almost 30 more, 25 more years or whatever to like figure out like, oh, Mrs. Burkett was onto something, and bless her heart if she's still alive. So that was my process. I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you take that process and that knowledge, and how did it work for you? Like, how did you feel, and how did it change your body, and how were you able to help others do the same?
Sure. So basically I just essentially started doing a raw vegan diet. It was very heavy on the fruit, very heavy on the greens, doing a lot of fruit, whatever it was, changing with the seasons. Bananas are always in season, so doing a lot of banana smoothies, a lot of salads, that kind of thing. And when I really implemented it, when I got serious about it, because I had some ups and downs, and it's not an easy thing to do. And, you get pizza cravings and whatever. And I would see the difference in my health. Like I would be eating healthy for a while. I'd start to feel better. I'd go on a bender having a bunch of unhealthy food. Symptoms would flare back. And I'd be like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, this is so bad. If I can just get my diet dialed, like I'll feel better. But but it's like sometimes that's not even motivation enough because we just have these self-sabotaging mechanisms. But within about 6 weeks of like doing it like 80-90%, like really buckling down, it was like major shift. I mean, I saw the skin clear up, the fatigue went away like within a week or two. The digestion was feeling better within about a month. And the chronic pain went away within like a week or two. I started just like leveling up past that. Like, it's sort of like you're at this low level of health, you're sick, you're chronically ill, you feel horrible all the time, you're in pain, and you're just like, I want to get back to how I was before I got sick, right? And that's just like, you're like, if I could only be back to that, right? And that's kind of what you look for because that's all you know. But then as I did it, like I just kept creeping up past that and feeling better and having more energy. And I was like, I was 28, 29 at the time. And I'm like, wow, I feel like better than I have my entire 20s. Like, this just keeps getting better. I didn't even know that this was possible. So I started doing like adventure races, like Tough Mudder, and started racing like half marathons, doing all these fitness stunts, like one-arm push-ups. It was just like, what am I capable of? This is amazing. I have a new body. I have a new life. This is awesome. So that was my journey. Yeah. As far as implementing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. So now how are you giving back to others, and how are you helping share this to others? Like, what is your way of communicating this in your style?
Sure. So eventually a few years into it, I just kind of realized that this was something that was needed, that, after I healed, I realized there are a lot of people suffering with this. I mean, there's a lot of people dealing with this, and I wanted to serve, and I wanted to help people. So I went back to school to become a doctor, but I always knew that I didn't want to like do drugs or surgery or anything like that. And so I started coaching people actually even before I finished school. I had friends reach out to me, like old high school friends. I had a guy who's gonna have his colon cut out. We went to ninth grade geometry together. And, he was in a pretty bad way. And I was like, well, you can do what I did, like, here, and saved him from getting surgery. And that was kind of the birth of me coaching people. And after that, I started, getting the word out on social media, just talking, more and more, speaking my truth, sharing my story, just trying to give people like the fundamentals and the basics of like how to heal yourself. And also the fundamentals and the basics of how the mainstream medical system pretends like they're going to heal you, but then they screw up. And it's not that they're bad people. It's just that the way it's set up, it's never going to work. And so here's an option that actually works, because I'm not really like, if that all worked, that would have been great, but it doesn't. So here I am presenting a solution that I think is better. I know it's better. I put out a healthy message on social media. It's Dr. Benjamin Benulis on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that. I do work with people one-on-one, in a group, and in coaching. So that's the definite thing that I do. So if you're like, hey, I need that, reach out to me, reach out to Kevin. We'll see what we can do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are some of the challenges? Because I know what it's like. I know what it's like trying to get people to eat healthy foods, from where they're at, even if they know and they believe in it's healthy. What are some of the challenges in getting people to eat these healthy foods, and how do you overcome it?
Sure. First off, people really got to want to do it. Like, my dad has got like pre-diabetes and a whole list of other metabolic conditions. And it's like, I can never force him to do it. Like, as much as I want him to get well, I can't make him do it. Like, he wants to, but he doesn't really put in the effort. And so it's like, the person's got to want to do it. And then of course they're going to run into problems, right? Like, even if you want to, like we were talking about, I still like had, these like binge eating episodes, right? Unhealthy, even though I didn't want to. So I think, people run into, cravings, they, when they're under stress, it's difficult to make good decisions. Obviously the world's not set up to eat healthy. I mean, you just drive down the street and it's like Arby's and McDonald's and KFC, they all got their vents pointed at the roads. You smell it like while you're driving by, you don't even realize it. And you're like, oh, I'm thinking Arby's. Well, because you just got dosed with like Arby's air, right? Arby's gas. That is by design. Okay. So you really have to, like, the default is unhealth with the way things are set up. So you really have to, kind of engineer your own environment and set yourself up for success, keep healthy food in your house, and really plan to succeed, because otherwise just the world's going to get the best of you. They're like, you only have so much willpower. So it's also good to have, support and accountability, and be involved in a community of like-minded people in person. Awesome. If not, online, listen to podcasts like Kevin's podcast, find other people who inspire you to stay healthy, and keep that inspiration in your ears on a daily basis, because the world's going to program you the other way, so you gotta make sure that you're listening to the stuff that serves you and tuning out the stuff that's going to just program you to eat unhealthy and live unhealthy and think unhealthy.
Definitely. So do you feel like when you are working with your clients one-on-one, these are some of the things that you're talking about and coaching them through and working them through?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's funny. It's like you said, I mean, pretty much knowing what to do is not that hard, right? It's like you can give anybody a grocery list or a meal plan or recipes or whatever. Them implementing it is a little bit different. And a lot of times people are working with me and they're like, Dr. Ben, like, I thought we'd be talking about like recipes on these coaching calls, but like, we're talking about like my childhood trauma. Like, I had a guy today who told me that when he was a kid, his parents didn't really speak English very well. And like, they had him right after they'd had his older sister, kind of by mistake. Like, they weren't trying to conceive and they had him. And so when he was young, his mom was trying to explain to him, you're a mistake. You are a mistake. But he like internalized that as like, I'm like a bad person. I don't deserve to be happy and all this other stuff.
I'm a failure. I'm worthless. It just snowballs. Yeah.
And that was something that we just dug up, because we were talking about like, why is he struggling? Why is it so hard for him to want to get healthy, or to stay motivated to stay healthy? And he was like, realized this was like something that happened to him as a kid. His mom was just trying to explain, like, we had you by accident, but like, because of the language, the words she used, like, really programmed his brain. So that's the kind of stuff that like comes up, limiting beliefs that we have, that like, as much as we want to be healthy, like we parts of us feel like we don't even deserve it, or it's not achievable. Right. And so that's where accountability and support and coaching can really help. So if anybody out there is listening and dealing with that, it's like, you're not the only one. Like, you shouldn't feel bad about yourself because you have the plan in front of you, but you can't execute it. That just means you're human. Right. And that's why it's so important to have community and support and not go it alone. I mean, like, I didn't really have that. Like, I was lucky. Like, I had just like a sheer like determination that I was going to do it. And I was kind of mad at the whole medical system. Like, I was really angry, and that was like rocket fuel for me. Like, when someone tells me you can't do it, or, blows me off, like, it's like, well, I'm just going to try even harder. But I mean, I was fortunate. Like I had enough willpower and determination to succeed on my own, but not everybody does. And that doesn't mean they don't deserve help. They just need help.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think everything that you're talking about is really like that holistic approach, right? It's like, it is not just one thing. It is not just a pill that you take. It's not an injection that you take. It is not even just a diet. That is not even just enough. You're right. It's so much more. It's like, there's deeper issues that people are going through that like need to be uncovered. Like, even like, I feel like the work that I do, like that we do on a daily basis, is almost like sometimes therapy sessions. Really, it really is. It's like, we're going through really some deep stuff, and uncovering, some stuff. And sometimes it's in layers. It's just like layers. It's like, okay, there's one thing, there's another thing, and you have to peel back through all these layers, before you can get to that point where they are ready and they're going to commit and they're going to stick to it, and like some of us have that sheer willpower where we just feel like we're just going to do it no matter what. And that's why I was like, I hated being sick so much that I was like, I'm going to do anything to not feel this, like whatever, it does not matter. And so totally it was that mindset. All right. So before we wrap this up, let's just, if there's any, maybe how about some top tips that you could give someone that's, suffering from it. They know they have an autoimmune disease and they're suffering from it. What would be some maybe top 3 tips?
Sure. So actually, if I can just plug this, I have a free ebook. It's called the
Okay, yeah.
Autoimmune Recovery Blueprint. You can get it off my website, and that basically has like my top, I think, 5 tips. It's like real basics of what to do as far as like reducing inflammation, how to, what recipes to do to eat healthier, just like really simple stuff that's like very few ingredients, just stuff you get from the grocery store. So like I basically created that book as like, if I could go back 11 years ago and give my old self like, hey, just do this, it's 7 pages, just implement that. You can get started there. It's really, that's the get started guide. So, but stuff like, green smoothies, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, that's what you got to do. If you're interested, I would say just check that out. It's on my website, drbenjaminbenulis.com. I'm sure you'll put a link in the show notes, and people can get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so everybody definitely go to Benjamin's Instagram. I'll definitely link that in the show notes and everything, and I'll put your book there as well. I would like to recommend you a book. I'll send you one as well, or anyone that wants this that's listening. There's a book that I think you would really like on autoimmune diseases, and but what the theory this book says on how it originated and what causes it. But it's an amazing book called The Toxin That Came to Dinner. Absolutely love that book. Have you read that one? It's a very short
I have not
read.
heard of it. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll send that one over to you. It's a free copy. And yeah. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much for your time and all your knowledge. I really appreciate it. And I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you for listening to the Empathy Podcast. I appreciate you guys for listening. I hope you guys took away something and you can apply it in your day-to-day lives. Also, I can see that there's a lot of you listening that aren't subscribed, so please subscribe. Make sure you leave a review at Apple Podcasts. That helps people find my podcast so that more people can listen.